Hey everyone! Today I'll be sharing my 5 best frigates in the game. Like the previous video I made similar to this one, these ships aren't listed in any particular order. It is simply a list of what I personally consider the best, based on my own experience, while also taking into account their actual strengths and weaknesses. So without further ado, let's get started. The IT Frem Evo is one of the few frigates with firepower that's both effective and efficient, while also having great survivability. Its firepower is very efficient because cannons and grenade launchers make up a significant portion of it. It's very effective because it carries 2 cannons, which are in a 2x1 customizable slot, meaning you could equip it with one of the best cannons available in the game and deal twice their damage on your target. Meanwhile, it also has 4 grenade launchers, but they're in a 4x1 locked slot, and they don't generate a damage output equivalent to 4 customizable grenade launchers. It specializes in DPM, and its output is even higher than what the RBU 2500, which is known for having high DPM, can achieve on ships equipped with 2 grenade launchers. Aside from that, it has a quick reload time, solid accuracy, and is capable of targeting underwater threats, including both submarines and torpedoes. Its firepower is basically the same as Admiral Ushakov's, but without torpedoes, and you're forced to use an upgraded version of the RBU 2500. The ship has a great survivability, thanks to its anti-air and anti-submarine capabilities, along with solid durability and maneuverability. The anti-air capability of the ship is really good, but that's mainly because it has a pair of locked cannons that can target both ships and aircraft. They aren't very effective against ships, but they are when it comes to aircraft. Without them, I'd only consider its anti-air capability to be average. Its anti-submarine capability is also quite good, not just because of its grenade launchers, but also because it has a locked autocannon that intercepts torpedoes and targets submarines, which makes underwater threats much easier to handle. Unfortunately, it comes with a few drawbacks that you should keep in mind if you decide to get and use this ship. First of all, it can't perform peek-and-shoot tactic without facing the risk of taking heavy damage, because the weapon placement of this ship is terrible. The cannons are placed on completely opposite sides, one at the front and the other at the rear of the ship. Meanwhile, the grenade launchers are positioned near the rear, so if you try to perform the peek-and-shoot tactic and want to deal heavy damage with this ship, you'll have to fully expose it to your enemy, which is generally a bad idea. The second problem is its missiles. While the ship doesn't rely on it as much as the cannons and grenade launchers, they still help deal damage, but there's something that could prevent that, which is the way they're launched on this ship. The missiles on this ship don't launch straight up vertically. They launch at an angle from the sides of the ship. Because of this, some missiles can behave unusually. For example, laser-guided missiles like the X-51 and Hi-Fly will initially fly away from the target for a certain distance before turning back to approach and hit it, but that only happens if you don't fire them while your ship's bow is pointing toward the target. Another example is that missiles like Mako and ASN-4G requires a wider flight path when used on this ship. These behaviors aren't ideal because they can cause problems when engaging in close-range combat in areas with limited space, as the missiles are more likely to hit obstacles instead of the target. So if you prefer to use any of the missiles I mentioned, this could be a major drawback for you. Another problem is its speed, though it's not a major one. It's among the slowest in the frigate class, but compared to ships outside of it, it's actually quite fast. Still, it's worth keeping in mind since you'll likely encounter other frigates that are much faster than it. The FS Forbin is basically the Zamwalt of frigates, because, at first glance, you might also think it's the worst ship, since it doesn't have a grenade launcher or torpedo. However, while it may perform poorly against underwater threats due to the lack of those weapons, it can still be a very troublesome and difficult opponent for surface ships to deal with. The advantages it offers that make it capable enough in battle are the same as those of the Zamwalt. Its firepower is effective enough to deal with surface threats and easy to use, its weapon placement allows it to perform the peek-and-shoot tactic, and it has sufficient survivability for its role in battle. Its firepower mainly and solely consists of cannons and missiles. It has 5 missile launchers in 3x1 and 2x1 customizable slots, and 2 cannons in a 2x1 customizable slot. Compared to Frem, it is indeed less efficient, since it relies heavily on missiles, which can be intercepted or flared, but it's more convenient to use because there's less aiming involved. The only weapon you'll need to aim is the cannons. Speaking of cannons, you'll get to enjoy the double damage cannon on this ship like Frem, since they both have the same number of customizable cannons. However, there's something you should watch out for in its firepower, specifically, the missiles in the 2x1 slot. They have the same issue as the missiles on Frem, but at least with Forbin, it also has another missile slot that launches straight up vertically, so the problem isn't as severe. The ship can perform the peek and shoot tactic effectively, since most of its weapons are positioned at the front. It has sufficient survivability, and one of the reasons is its good anti-air capability. However, you can improve it further, since all of its air defenses are locked to the ship. Its specifications offer good durability, great speed, and great maneuverability. When it comes to anti-submarine capability, I've already implied that it's bad, but you guys might think it's not completely bad because it has an autocannon that intercepts torpedoes, which is true, but only on paper, since it's not very effective at it. You do have the option to equip it with an anti-submarine helicopter, which provides some extent of anti-sub capability, but that's different from having actual anti-submarine weapons. On top of that, it comes at the cost of sacrificing your ability to secure kills or spot targets, since those helicopters aren't generally good at those tasks. The FGSF 126 is known for its great firepower that relies heavily on grenade launchers. It has 4 of them, which is well above the average number, and they're all in a 4x1 customizable slot. To put into perspective how significant having this many grenade launchers is, it's essentially the equivalent of having 3 customizable cannons, which have the potential to deal more burst damage than the main guns of some battleships in the game. The rest of its weapons primarily serve to make it harder for your target to recover after being hit by the ship's grenade launchers. However, there are 3 things you should watch out for when it comes to this ship's firepower. First is that it faces the same missile issue as Frem, since the missiles on the 1x1 slot launch in a similar way as Frem's. Second, the missiles are in a 2x1 and 1x1 slot, which I consider a double-edged sword slot configuration. The reason is that it allows you to use 2 different types of missiles at the same time, but it also makes them easier to intercept, and, depending on which missiles you use, it could weaken the ship's overall firepower. Lastly, performing the peek and shoot tactic with this ship can be quite challenging, as its weapon placement isn't very suitable for it. The ship performs quite well in terms of survivability. Its anti-air capability is decent, as long as it's equipped with an effective autocannon that can engage aircraft. Without it, it would be on the weaker side. Since it has a lot of grenade launchers, you're safe to assume that it also has strong anti-submarine capability. Its specifications offer excellent durability and average speed. Its durability is currently the highest among frigates, and even higher than some destroyers in the game. Its maneuverability, however, is something you should watch out for, as it isn't very good. The SPSF 110 is another ship known for its great firepower, which heavily relies on grenade launchers. Just like the F-126, it has 4 customizable grenade launchers, but the difference is that it uses a double-edged sword slot configuration. Similar to what I mentioned earlier about the missiles, this configuration allows you to use 2 different types of grenade launchers at the same time, but depending on which ones you equip, it can be inconvenient to use. You can avoid that issue by equipping the same type of grenade launcher on both slots, but in doing so, you also lose the advantage that configuration offers. Another difference is that its firepower is slightly weaker than the F-126 when dealing with surface threats, because it has fewer missiles. It does have a torpedo, which the F-126 doesn't have, but it's even less efficient than missiles when engaging surface targets. Unlike missiles, torpedoes travel through water and are much slower. You can easily avoid incoming torpedoes by hiding behind obstacles, and if your ship has a grenade launcher and you've equipped an effective one, you can also intercept them easily. However, the torpedo does give the ship a slight advantage in terms of anti-submarine capability. Aside from having fewer missiles, another reason it's inferior to the F-126 when dealing with surface threats is that it launches its missiles in a similar way to Frem. While the F-126 also has that issue, it's not as bad because its other missile slot, the one with the 2x1 configuration, launches missiles straight up vertically. The F-126 and F-110 differ greatly when it comes to survivability, as the F-110's overall survivability is quite poor. Its anti-air capability is weak, and you can't improve it since its air defense systems are locked to the ship. Its specifications offer terrible durability and a speed that's close to average but leans toward the lower side. It does have good maneuverability, but that's not enough to close the survivability gap between the F-126 and F-110. even if we include the ship's excellent anti-submarine capability. While its survivability is poor, it still has really good firepower, and I would prefer it over what many other frigates in the game offer. On top of that, it's more budget-friendly than the F-126 and the other frigates I discussed earlier, making it an attractive option for players who want a capable frigate without spending too many in-game resources or money. The FS Aquitaine is known for its impressive firepower that mainly consists of missiles and grenade launchers, while also being one of the fastest and most agile frigates in the game. It has 3 missile launchers in a 3x1 customizable slot, which is better than what the F-126 has, because with it, you can launch all 3 missiles at exactly the same time, making them harder to intercept. On top of that, you can conveniently and effectively use laser-guided missiles with it. It also has 3 grenade launchers in a 3x1 customizable slot. While it's not as powerful as having 4 grenade launchers, it shouldn't be underestimated, as that number is still above average. You can still deal massive damage with it. Think of it as the grenade launcher equivalent of having 2 customizable cannons. When it comes to things you need to watch out for, it's basically the same as what I mentioned about the F-126, except without the double-edged sword missile slot configuration. You have to watch for how it launches missiles, because it also launches missiles in a similar way as FREM, and performing the peek-and-shoot tactic will be quite challenging since the ship doesn't have the ideal weapon placement for it. As for its survivability, it's pretty good as well. Its specifications offers a durability that is above average. It also offers great speed and maneuverability, as I said earlier. Its anti-submarine capability is pretty strong, thanks to the grenade launchers and torpedo. The only issue with its survivability is its anti-air capability, as it isn't very good, and can't be improved since all of its air defense systems are locked to the ship. But at least it's not as bad as the F-110s. This ship, overall, is basically a balanced version of both the F-126 and F-110. Those are what I think are the 5 best frigates in the game. Now I'll move on to explaining why I didn't include the others. I'm doing this because, in the destroyer equivalent of this video, a lot of people asked why I didn't include certain ships, so I'll make it clear and fair this time. I won't go into too much detail here. I'll just point out the main reason why I didn't include them. First of all, I didn't include the Smart 4000 because it's no longer as good as it used to be. Its damage output has been nerfed, to the point that you can't make it perform well as easily as during its first month in the game. The F-127, FS Blue Shark, INS Nilgiri, F-125, Type 054B, and HMS Glasgow are ships that I think aren't as good as the ones I included on the list, but they definitely would have made it if I had extended it. Some of these ships are cheaper to obtain, and I'd recommend checking them out if you're looking for more budget-friendly frigates, aside from the F-110, especially since most of the ships in my list are quite expensive. Xerxes has incredible speed, but it has a weak firepower. You can make it work by flanking opponents, but I don't like flanking with it because of that firepower. I'd prefer using an Akranoplan instead if I plan to rely on a flanking strategy in all my battles. The RF Project 22350M, RF Admiral Gorshkov, JS Mogami, F-124, and Chungnam are ships whose firepower relies heavily on torpedoes, which I view it as problematic due to the risks they carry when dealing with surface threats. You can certainly deal a lot of damage with them, especially if you equip them with nuclear torpedoes, but the risks involved in effectively hitting a target make them unattractive to me. Those are my reasons why I didn't include the others. Again, keep in mind that the 5 frigates are not in any particular order. It's just a list of what I think are the 5 best frigates in the game. So what do you guys think of it? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Now, that'll be it for today's video. Hopefully, you guys liked it and find it helpful, and if you all did, please leave a like and subscribe to support me. Thank you so much for watching.